Hello and welcome to Higher Ground and Circle Passages, and also to TC Media right here in Olympia, covering Thurston County. And you know, we've talked about this before and want to talk about it actually every show, is what an incredible opportunity this is, and it's available to everyone. So if you ever thought about having a show, a family show, individual show, whatever it might be, community show, here's the place to do it. The facilities are amazing. The staff is just absolutely incredible, so helpful. They won't do it for you, but they will definitely help us through the process. The training, the different classes, again, really fabulous. So, and I'm saying this because we wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for public access television and TC Media. So thank you, and want to introduce Heather and to TC Media too.
Oh yeah, okay, and I'm gonna add to that. You already said the staff are so nice, so helpful. They don't do it for you, but they almost do. So yeah. So beyond accommodating and just the most lovely people.
Definitely, definitely. There's no question about that. And that's what gives us a chance to do what we're doing. And we've had at least, well, a show each month for this past year, even with since the pandemic, or maybe it was just whatever last year, where pretty consistently, although we were doing it outside of the studio with other shows. But again, just the support to bring it in here and still get it on the air is phenomenal. I wouldn't be able to do that part of it, so thank goodness that the staff is here, the crew is here, so appreciate that. But
yeah.
and you know, we've been able to do, I think, so many really wonderful shows that hopefully we have one again today that everyone will appreciate. And really it's going to be, it is an invitation. I'm going to be talking about drum journey again, and like you've talked about, really what's really behind that. And this has been going on for thousands of years, right? Creating the indigenous drums, and we too can do this, right? So looking forward to that part of it. And brought some materials here of kind of where we're going to start the process. I guess you could say with the materials, but there's something we're going to begin with even before we do that, right? So want to just explain what this journey can be, timelines, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So it depends really what your time frame is. So one of the positives is that it can meet you wherever you're at in terms of what amount of time you have, and even cost. You and I were discussing the Centralia native-owned shop that we go to now has a 10-pack that brings the price down to about $26 per individual drum for a 10-inch deer hide drum. So I thought that was brilliant. So different sizes, different. You've got such great, you've got such great visuals. But you know, different hides, deer, elk, horse, even bear, buffalo. You know, all these different kinds, ethically sourced and naturally cured. Bear oil is actually, it's like bear oil, and you know, just these 3 ingredients that they use to tend or cure the hides. But really, the process is about you coming to life with your drum and bringing your drum to life. And so there's this reciprocity and even this atonement where you and the drum become one. And so you're tuning into the drum as you're making it, and every time you play it from the time you make it on, you know, there's this transformation that is between you and the drum. And the world, and it's has all this evidence-based data now. So 40% reduction in depression, 20% in anxiety, just in 6 or 7 weeks. playing the drum. So really pretty amazing. And there's something I'm going to say that's magical that transcends any data points, which is that in this ancestral ancient practice, you're connecting with something beyond yourself. And the drum is really a medium for you to connect, and that can include, and I'm sure we'll get into, it can be your ancestral lineage. There's a lot about place too, so I've done some drum journeys, workshops at Shasta, so the energy of the mountain, your beloved mountain there too, you know, and so it could be that something from the mountain is calling you, or the needs of this planet this time. So all of these different ways the drum interacts with you, including the animal that it came from and that animal spirit, the tree that it came from. So part of the first step, I'll say, is just that resonance that you're starting to tune into. And there's this whole musical metaphor with resonance and harmony, you know, because it is this musical instrument, an instrument of vibration, of attunement with yourself and whatever you're calling in or whatever's calling you in to serve through the drums. So I like to see these drums, as a last statement, as tools of service, and particularly I think of them as spiritual eco-activism, you know, where you can go out into the world and dedicate the drum to service, to healing yourself and healing the world, and those two, just like you and the drum, go together.
And those things are happening before you even start
Yeah,
putting
no,
the
that's
drum
like
together.
the resonance
Yeah,
as
yeah.
you approach the workshop, or yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And that's the fascinating part, really. I think kind of it's not really a backstory, but I guess it is. It's we're not going to just dive right into making a drum. There is something along the way and prior to that, just like you just explained.
Yeah. Yeah, and even like, you know, where did this tree come from? Or, you know, the different animals, but when you look at it, you brought
That
these
might be elk right there.
yeah, amazing. I mean, they're so beautiful. And then one of the obvious things, I can really feel it on this side, is, you know, we have wounds and we hold them somatically under our skin. And so part of it is you know, one of the early steps is picking your skin and clearing out, in a way, toxins, karma, the death, you know, of the animals. They've been ethically sourced, but, you know, death is traumatic. You know, who knows what the history of the animal is. So one of the first things, as you know, as Smudge Master, is, you know, this really intentional dropping into your own wounds, dropping into the wounds of the hide, clearing away or releasing what you no longer need or doesn't serve you anymore. And so that still is part of this beginning where you're just kind of calling in and choosing your hide, for example. People spend a long time, as they should, looking at, I'm going to bring up a couple of these because they're so crazy beautiful.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah, the beauty of the hides, to include the wounds and just that resonance again that's beyond words of, you know, what hide, what rim calls to me and what's calling in and through this process. Kind of on whose behalf do we serve, or on whose behalf am I making this drum? Because at least for me, I think, you know, the ancestral truth would be it's not our drum. You know, we might be the drums more than the drum is ours. I'm not even sure.
True. True. If we're listening.
If we're listening, yeah, okay, and then just crazy beautiful.
And these sizes right here could be for a number of different things. Could be for a rattle, could be for a smaller drum, and just kind of brought these along for just, wow, just some of what we see here of. And each one of these, I think, is elk, and like you said, just a variety of hides. And you know, you look at this, and it feels kind of stiff. I mean, there's some flexibility, but it's kind of like it's an inanimate object, and we know that's not the case. It's dormant, if anything else, right? And just waiting to be brought back to life again. And actually, if you wouldn't mind,
this guy?
Yeah, that one. Pick that one up. So, thank you. So this would be, and that's a smaller ring right there, but say this might be for possibly, I think, a 16-inch. But as you can probably see too, and this was really cool too, if, and we've done that where, if we pick up the materials for somebody else, we're trying to pay attention to the hides, not just exactly which animal necessarily, but something about the hide. And just remember Lori, a Sami drum maker who led our first, the initial drum making itself.
And I'll interject, if people have been following us, they probably remember, but Sami's where the first reference for the word shaman, so it's the Siberian native drum. And it was the first shaman reference and for drumming in the spirit. So it's a lineage that goes back and is specifically related to drums.
And the reindeer people of northern Scandinavia. So like you said, I mean, just literally thousands of years of creating drums, which are very important with tradition and ritual ceremony, right, for the indigenous. And what Lori had mentioned was, if you can see this dark spot right here, this line, is at one point, this was over the spine of the backbone of, in this case, it was Tatanka, buffalo. So, just to kind of get a better feel for what it is. It's not, again, just this inanimate object here. This is a hide that is going to, it's already alive, again, dormant, but we're going to bring this back to life again. Something else with the fur skin, and what Lori had said to us was, sit with your skin and just kind of feel what are you being called to do.
Right.
And it's what you were just saying, this, where the worker bees, if you would, in creating it, I guess, putting it together, but the drum is really, it's calling us, isn't it? And all the different materials, like you said, tree, the hide right here. So holding this up to the light, then you're going to see something in addition to this right here. So it's what I ended up doing, was putting my skin, the hide, up against the window, and wow, these scenes just jumps right out there. So as she was saying, sit with your skin. Okay, it's saying to me, you don't need to pay me. I'm giving you 3, not with this one right here. Actually, it's with this one right here.
Right.
Which this one is finished, but, and this is kind of mentioned before, to me, I like archaeology. So beneath this incredible drawing right here, painting that Sonia Holy Eagle did, Rapid City, South Dakota, there are like 3 scenes under this painting right here. That's where it started. And that's where the drum said to me, hide said to me, buffalo said, you don't need to paint me. I'm giving you those. Excuse me. And you can't quite see it now, but there was, in my mind, image of jaguar, and then some cliffs that the colors and just the way the cliffs were represented the Badlands, but also the Yucatan. Again, the colors. And in the background, it was Lassen, Waganupa in California, so the last of the Cascades. And that's what was here before we got to this point. And fortunately, Sonia was open to painting what you see right here, which is terrific, and have kind of taken this to another level too, of using this as a logo for higher ground and for like a business card, let's say, but just amazing. And it's a drum. So
I know.
That's what's so incredible about it too.
Yeah, and that living organism aspect, it feels inert when it's in that position, and it comes to life. And what I think is one of the major misconceptions about art is that it's a transformative process. It's like a path where it's the path, like the entirety of the path and every step. And so it has all these different dimensions, but we tend to think of it in this really limited, static way, and it's not. So of course it would be, you know, the life of the buffalo, and at one point it's the images you see, the scenes underneath, and you know, who knows what the entire life of the drum will be. And so yeah, I love that, because I think the process is this hidden part of art that is really its purpose and its power, but we've lost track of it. So that's why I think the drum is such a beautiful example.
Isn't it though? And again, so much of the background of preparing to be on this journey, and that's so wonderful too. It is a journey, and it's so, as it should be, right? So unique. It's an individual journey. It's
right.
Whoever uses this hide right here, it's going to be their journey. And yet, what's really cool is with the group that we have in the workshop is it's also collective in its community, isn't it? So
right.
we're sharing each one of our individual journeys. We're together. We're all on that journey, if you would.
Right.
So I don't know. It's the best of
all worlds.
Yeah.
The best of all worlds.
It
yeah.
sure seems.
Yeah, and it's making me think, you know, a lot of these are ancestral drums in that, you know, I've not inherited a drum from my lineage, because in ways we migrate and those are broken in senses. But I'm thinking of my native friend, and she has a grandmother drum, like a grandmother raven drum. You know, so a lot of them are, of course, passed on. And so then they have this, you know, almost like reincarnational lives of the drum. Yeah.
What's cool about that too is, like you said, and same thing for me, nobody has passed that along, you know, different kind of culture, perhaps, but what, if you would, we're starting that process. So what we are able to create in listening to whoever the animal is here, deer, buffalo, horse, whatever that is passing that on to other family members, let's say, or friends, or whoever that might be, right? So it's going to really continue the process, you know, and since meeting you, of because this kind of ties into me of rites of passage. This is certainly one of those examples of a rite of passage, a passage period of transforming from who we think we are, or who we have been necessarily, I guess, growing up and all that sort of thing, to, wow, stepping into another part of who, and for me it's like incarnations anyway. So somewhere in there, there's that connection is certainly there. Maybe not this particular lifetime, but previous lifetimes of having had an opportunity to do this very same thing that we're offering and want to share with other people.
Yeah, and I want to clarify too that all of us have a lineage that includes drumming and drum making. So it's just whether we are in our modern kind of culture connected with it. So all of us have those roots. That's why I think the statistics are so amazing about drum making and healing. But I wanted to dovetail too with talking about it as a rite of passage, which is also to say an initiation. It's a commitment. So when you make a drum, you are really committing to honoring the animal, the tree, you know, the process. So in a way, like any initiation, you have to do the inner work, and it's calling on you to do the inner work along with the outer manifestation. And that's what art like this is all about, is it's creating something that shows you and reminds you of the inner work that you did, and kind of calls to and invokes that inner work. You know, that's part of the reciprocity of call and response with the drum, is that you have committed to taking on a drum. It's not a dog, you know, or a child, but it's a commitment. And I think that it's good. That's part of why we begin with more reflective and ceremonial ritual aspects, so that people can sit with that and deepen into that and really realize that it is something. It's meant to have an inner response.
Definitely. Something that related to this too, that when Lori said sit with your skin, what that also did for me was being in the counseling field for all of my career, let's say, is not just to be with this skin right here, but this skin.
Yeah.
Because this is just what you're talking about, I think, is to release and to get in touch with, whether it's the ancestry of who I am, because I
Yeah.
don't think it's so much about whatever DNA and bloodline or even name. You know, it goes much deeper than that to me. So it's and like we talked about, not just the indigenous on this continent, it's all over the world of
Right.
creating these drums. But it's really to, as we're doing this process of creating the drum, figuring out what am I getting, what are the messages, how am I being guided, it's also kind of figuring out, so who's this?
Right.
Yeah.
What's under my skin? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what a wonderful process, incredible journey,
Right.
without a question. And it's like, whoa, all in this, what we did with this workshop.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it has the built-in vision quest and painting it. And then I love too that whenever you get your drum out, and often it will be at a mountain, or like it'll be at a significant place in time, often for a purpose. And then it's a way that invocation, evocation, call and response, it's a way, to call out almost like prayer to the mountain and to listen. And so I think that it's a form of communion too, in a sense, or, it's a way to commune and communicate with things seen and unseen. And we don't remember, it's not a cognitive capacity, but drums are so ancient and ancestral, and it's really, to me, about our heartbeat and the earth, It's like the resonance with the earth, and so it could be that we're Celtic or this or that, or I have Russian ancestry. Whatever your ancestry, it really is our connection to the earth, I think, is the deep root that it all comes from.
Definitely, and that's a really good point for the materials here, all from the earth.
All
right?
from the earth,
I mean,
yeah.
obviously the hide with the animal, but and right here of lace, can't quite reach that, but so this is also hide that's been cut and
It's a spiral, which is kind of cool.
yeah, it is, isn't it? It's got a little playing a little game here.
Right.
So, and this is what we'd be doing in the workshop. Is, like you said, smudging is really, in a sense, kind of blessing, opening to the inner guide, the inner spirit of what am I being called to do here? And
Right.
again, individually as well as collectively, but eventually what's going to happen here is right here.
Right.
Is the lacing to pull the hide over the wood, and going back to the, like you said, in nature. So this ring right here is yellow cedar, so from British Columbia, and like you said, a tree. And you think, okay, well, the tree got cut down and, it's no longer alive. But we know that that's not necessarily the case, because once we put this together and actually playing it, it's bringing it right back to life, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, and so I'm doing a workshop in Shasta again, and one of the people, and I totally get it because I've been a lifelong, mainly vegetarian, I eat pescatarian now, but she's like, well, it's too bad there's not a vegan option. And I was like, yes and no. Because it actually, I think that sacrifice makes sacred, the same root, sacrare, that to take an animal's hide when the animal's already dead, so it's using the entirety of the animal, and it's same with a tree, that it almost feels like the highest purpose that it can serve is in this prayer and in this ritual and in service to the world. And so I remember the impetus for some of this was when a lot of the bison were being culled, in Yellowstone. And I remember just sitting with that, and it was the same time Shasta was having a lot of fires, so there's this ecological trauma, kind of in both ways. And I thought, well, this would be a great ecoactive service, to create a drum, and using buffalo, is a way to help also work with the animals that are being killed in pretty large numbers. So it's interesting. I mean, it's kind of a yes and, because I actually think it's in that ethic of the indigenous people to work with the entirety of the animal, to give thanks, to have it be a blessing, and that's where it's a commitment to have that kind of integrity through the process.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it? Yes. Yeah. And so much behind that, so much forethought of it's not just to harvest the animal and then discard whatever, like you said, using every part of that in a very useful way.
Right.
It's so much that in our society, because to me it's like a throwaway society, it doesn't work anymore, well, throw it away. But
right.
Is to learn from these kinds of things, and quite a process, isn't it?
Yeah, I just wanted to, you were talking about pulling it taut, there's a tension aspect, I'm just riffing on the metaphor of, we are our drum, but you also soften the skin. So from this dry, inert, you have it overnight in the bath along with the hide for the sinew. And with mine, I put flower petals and, different things. And so everything can be kind of as deep or shallow as you want, but even that is a softening, like a softening into becoming vulnerable. So that every step of the drum journey has this aspect that you can dig into and essentially heal yourself as you're creating this healing tool for the world.
And it's certainly here for quite some time. And just to kind of give an idea of another type of lacing that we had done, and then inside, can't quite see that necessarily, but some other inscription. So there's just so much to that whole process that, again, what's so cool is this is what I want to do to this. It's, what are you calling me to do? If we can do that, so such an important, just kind of be quiet and listen. For us, a lot of times that's not always the easiest thing to do, is it?
Yeah, and we just also don't give ourselves space, which is, any retreat, hopefully, but these drum journeys have a lot of, flute or drum music, or there's this very inward womb-like movement. And then it's almost like when it dries, the sound can go out, So it's this in, and then it's released with the sound. But we need that inward reflective time. And that's what we're lacking, I think, in our culture. And so it's, even when you play ongoing, you're really creating this habit and this pattern of, doing this work, which is introspective work. And it's trance-inducing, obviously.
And all this seems time-wise so appropriate right now with the pandemic and such isolation that has taken place. It's opening up significantly, but still that still exists. And like you said, to kind of go within, and how can I be creative as opposed to just that, is something is posing its will on me. This pandemic is limiting me. Well, how can I break out of that and actually create something? A lot of things, but here's a part of it.
Yeah, and I love, the circle that we work with Circle Passages, having drum circles. A friend of mine, I was telling you today, was saying they used to do drum circles every week, and they haven't in forever. And we were both realizing that this would be a great time to renew that, because we're so in need of healing, personally, collectively, and then also planetarily. So a drum circle magnifies the sound, but also the power, the healing power, I believe. So I think we should have drum circles around the fire outside the summer buck.
Sounds like a good one to me, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Well, thank you. This has been, it's always incredible talking about the drum journey and putting these together, all the things that it means. But hopefully everybody's enjoyed what we've done, and we'll be having some workshops this year.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that, and thank you for tuning in. And again, thank you TC Media for letting this be possible. Take care.